Swale Mudavadi is our guest on Newsnight. Text us 22422. The hashtag is Newsnight. Thank you again for making time for us tonight. Fast this.
Thank you.
Mimi niliwasaidia. Ule akakuwa prime minister, ule mwingine akakuwa deputy. Sasa wakiniunga mkono iko makosa. Sasa Mzali atafadhali my friend. Unajua saa zingine
wewe umesema hayo yote lakini ulisahau 2013. Mlikuja kubomo yangu mkakula mandazi. Na Ruto amekuja kudai nyinyi mko na deni yake. Wache mambo ya kudai madeni bwana. Sisi hatuna deni lake.
The most asked question is where were the other 3 NASA co-principals? The answer is we were neither aware, briefed, consulted, nor invited.
Sasa mimi nikizungumza naambia tu wa Kenya mkae chonjo. Mimi nilinyolewa.
Again, is our guest is the ANC party leader. From our question earlier on, still clearly a NASA principal, because you're saying NASA is still very intact. We'll come to all that later. The latest, fast again, this afternoon you are at a meeting at a hotel in Nairobi of Luhya leaders, another of many meetings that we've been seeking, I presume, but although it has been reported over the last few days, seeking the elusive Luhya unity. What is this about?
Well, I think we met not as Luhya MPs, we actually met as leaders from Western Kenya, because people must always remember that we have the Teso community and we also have the Sabot community. And in this meeting, we also had Governor Ojamong. Now, the issues that we are discussing were not, at this point in time, focused on the Luhya unity, because this is something that is always being sung. I think we were focusing on a bigger issue here. And the bigger issue that is on the cards at the moment is the plight of the sugarcane farmer. And indeed, the families that have been dependent on sugarcane. Right. And the industry is tottering. So that was the key focus. The second aspect we decided to talk about was to join other Kenyans on the 23rd in marking the 15th anniversary of the late Michael Wamalo Kijana.
Right. And from that, we actually heard that there's going to be a major or critical declarations to be made. And especially this sugar thing that you have now said you want, what do you call it? Commission of Inquiry.
Yes.
To be formed. Why would you want that? It's not the first time. You've been there before in government. You've been in opposition before. Several times we've seen these commissions being formed and nothing really comes out of them. Why would you want that to be the solution to this?
First of all,
yet we have investigations actually.
First of all, I want to debunk the notion that commissions don't bring out anything. That is a fallacy. And if you give me time, I'll just give you very quick examples. Okay. The Kriegler Commission was a judicial commission of inquiry chaired by Kriegler. And they were able to come out with very, very important recommendations that, if fully implemented, are going to change and alter the conduct of elections in this country.
Right.
We have had the Goldenberg Commission,
right,
which dealt with the Goldenberg saga, export compensation malpractices. Again, that made specific recommendations, and indeed even prosecutions followed thereafter. We've had the TJRC Commission. I'm just giving you 3. The TJRC Commission made recommendations, but they are actually sitting in Parliament.
Nothing has been done about it, yeah.
So it is not the commissions that have failed. It is the implementing agencies of following the recommendations of those commissions. That is, the executive and Parliament have been failing us, but not the commissions.
And that is why somebody would have thought, or many would have thought, another maybe better way to solve this than Commission of Inquiries. We've heard that. You've just mentioned TJRC. And you're saying the problem is implementation. Somehow we still can get out of that. But all these commissions of inquiry we've had, the Ndungu,
the Ndungu did a good job. And even now, you can see implementation of some of the Ndungu recommendations. Some of the plots and issues he raised, now is when they're being addressed.
Now?
Yes.
But there are very few. And we've had so many other commissions. I'm not saying the commissions don't do their job. I'm saying there's very little in as far as implementation is concerned. And we can't seem to get around that. There's no other better way you think there is to solve this? Plus, does it mean you don't trust the other agencies, DCI and DPP, that they're conducting investigations of this sugar scandal?
I think let's take it in perspective. Right now, there are so many scandals on the table. There's the NYS scandal. We have issues around KPLC. We have issues on the pipeline. We have issues related to land and compensation issues. Now we have so many scandals on the table. Now let's face the reality here. The reality is that the capacity of the DCI, the capacity of the ethics body, Anti-Corruption Commission, and other investigative agencies is overstretched. These people are handling multiple cases. And the reality is that we can, as a nation, also initiate alternative processes to buttress this fight against corruption. And mark you, one of the biggest follies that has happened is that Parliament has allocated itself the bulk of the resources and given very little to the ethics body, given very little to the DPP's department, and indeed even underfunded the DCI. So these are very fundamental issues.
Okay, I'll leave that at that. Let's go back to the critical issue of, to many, especially in the Western region, of Luhya unity. And we actually read a tweet here from Victor Shivonje, who said, Mudavadi, what plans do you have for Luhya community? Because as Luhya community, we have no future. That is how dejected it seems to be. We've been seeing you with Cabinet Secretary Gino Malwa and Moses Wetangula, and this has been talked about. But first, what is happening, and again, you said it yourself, it has been said time and time and again, it's always, I mean, it almost seems like a cycle that every 5 years, after every election, there's a search for Luhya unity that goes on end until close to the election, then there is division, then you almost seem to be playing, with all due respect to the community, second fiddle. Then after that, we go back to the next election cycle, and then there's a search for Luhya unity.
First of all, I just want to say that we need to ask ourselves, as people from the Western region, that whose narrative is this? Who's the author of the script that Luhyas are divided? It's a myth. In the year 2002, when Kibaki was coming into power, I'm from Western Kenya. The Luhya voted virtually for Kibaki to become president of this country in their millions. Now come to the election of 2017, where I supported Raila Odinga. 90% of the Luhyas voted for Raila Odinga. So on the presidential vote, 2013, again, the majority voted in a different way. So it does not mean that there's no unity of purpose.
Voted for you, they also voted for Raila,
others. Precisely. So when there is an issue, Luhyas can vote together, or Westerners can vote together.
Right.
But let me also just put it this way. I think it is unfair for people to continue to vilify a community and try to derogate them as people who can never get together. Yet they're the ones who have been most patriotic by being able to express their democratic rights without any fear and being able to vote for any other person in this country. Yet these other communities that throw these jibes have never allowed anybody else to move forward.
I agree with you, and in fact I think it's total nonsense to think of Luhyas or any other community as people who can just be told to vote in one direction.
Precisely.
That was not my point.
Yes.
The point is that leaders, with all due respect, like you and others, use this to just up their individual political, just to bargain, as a bargaining power.
No. I don't think
Until
so.
close to the election, then go to one side and another one goes to that side. And in the meantime, tell the community that we are trying to look for Luhya unity.
I don't think so. Even now, the issues that I told you we are talking about the need to find a solution for what is hurting us. And the thing that is at the foremost at this point in time is the crisis in the sugar industry. That is what we must focus on. And that is why we say we want to have a commission of inquiry. South Africa has just set up a commission of inquiry on Zuma, all right? The Zondo Commission. Now, from where I sit, I can see there are a lot of people who may be very worried about a commission of inquiry in the sugar saga.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Let's take a look now at what has been said over the last few days in the Western region. This is by Deputy President William Ruto.
Kwa sababu ile mimi niliwasaidia. Ule akakuwa prime minister, ule mwingine akakuwa deputy. Saa hii mimi ndio nimekaribia. Sasa wakiniunga mkono iko makosa? Sasa iko haja gani ya kusungukana tena? Simu nisaidie tu nifike haraka hivi.
Wewe umesema hayo yote lakini ulisahau 2013. Mlikuja kubomo yangu mkakula mandazi. Hiyo hakutaja. Unajua watu wa huko waliambia Ruto hawana deni. Na Ruto amekuja kudai nyinyi mko na deni yake. Wache mambo ya kudai madeni bwana. Sisi hatuna deni lake.
You have responded to some extent, but just for the record, first, how do you respond to what William Ruto said?
I'll go a little bit spiritual or philosophical on some of these things. You know, in the Gospels, you have Zacchaeus, the debt collector, tax collector. All right? And he had a lot of problems because he was very unpopular because of what he was doing and living on the sweat of a lot of other people. And when it was time, he actually had to repent fast. Now, I want Kenyans to be able to say, we should not create political Zacchaeus or Zacchaeus, political Zacchaeus who want to collect political debt. Because debt collectors can be very vicious. They come with auctioneers. So the message I'm putting across to Kenyans is that if at all there's going to be a debt, it is the leaders who have been elected who must live up to what they promised the electorate. But in terms of trying to block communities or to target individuals and tell them that we owe you a debt, that is out of question. It should be forgotten, and it should not be the determinant of Kenya's politics.
So there's no debt you have?
There is no debt.
This is in the past, but just for the record, because he talked about it. Was there a pre-election deal in 2007, as he says, and that you actually took his position?
No.
Because he said he has no qualms about it, you and Raila Odinga.
I mean, let's face it. What constitution were we dealing with? Let's be realistic here. In the 2002 election, what constitution were we dealing with? It was after the crisis of the 2007 elections that we got to the stage where we were talking of a different constitutional dispensation. And the first one was that of the Grand Coalition Arrangement. We were all there, we negotiated. Now in those negotiations, and I was party to it at Serena, there's no document where we appended names to those positions, even when we were presenting them to Parliament. So that is a hoax.
So there was no such thing, no agreement that he was going to get that position?
There was no such thing.
He has appealed to you to say you should support him.
Well, that is now within his domain. He can make an appeal. That is okay, because I can deny or accept. But I always, but I want to tell him that I'm a competitor, so I may be the one coming forward to him to ask him for his support, but yes, I say may, because he has declared his interest. Right. So I'll say I may come to ask him for his support, but clearly he must remember I'm not coming for a payback.
Okay, meaning you're declaring your...
Oh yes, that I have done before.
For the presidency again?
Yes.
Okay, with all due respect to you. You say you may be coming for his support, he says you support him, and this will go back and forth because there are other people who will go, who will also declare their intention. Thrice you've said you'll go for the top seat, as far as I can remember. In 2007, you stepped down for Raila Odinga. 2013, what you just said, Nilinyolewa, we played that clip, that was a while back.
No, but I stood.
You stood,
yes, I stood.
What happened between you and Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto after being shortchanged, and then you stood and vied. And then in 2017 again, you said you're going for the top seat, and you stepped down for Raila. So when are you going to actually go for the top seat and actually go for the top seat?
First of all, it's important that we put this in perspective, because in 2017, when I did declare, and then I had my moments of reflection, and I came up with NASA, I was also reading the politics of the day. And it was so clear that the Jubilee side was merging the TNA and URP. And therefore, I owed it to the Kenyans who wanted to have an alternative voice that we must also come with a unified opposition. hence the NASA vessel, which we created. Okay, so that became something else. Then now we are going into 2022. I'm declaring that I'm in the race. All right, it's not for simplicity, but
because guys have seen you do this, then ultimately step down for somebody else.
No. But this is only, I've only contested once. All right, but if I have been there to support Uhuru in 2002, then I have supported Raila in 2007, and I've supported Raila in 2017. That shows that I'm a selfless individual. All right? I may be interested in the seat, but I can also look at the bigger good when it is time to look at the bigger good.
And these are qualities that you'll always have.
Yes.
Depending on any situation.
And I thank God. And I thank God for them.
All right. Speaking of betrayals, you've talked about NASA being the vessel, your dream, and the vessel that was used by the unified opposition. And I asked you again earlier on whether it's time to give it a death certificate. You said no. First, let's take a look at what has been said, because many have talked about NASA, and we have seen problems in NASA after the handshake between Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. But there's something that preceded that. Let's take a look at what Raila Odinga talked about the swearing-in, or mock swearing-in of 30 January.
Listen to a media or reads, knew that the NASA fraternity was congregating at Uhuru Park on the 30th of January. And over 500,000 people came to that function. And they knew that the meeting was going to start at 10 o'clock. We eventually started at 2:30, getting to 3 o'clock. So who wanted to go there, went there. Who did not want to go, did not go. So I don't want to be blamed that I was going to call somebody.
Where were you on that day?
I was in Nairobi.
Why weren't you at Uhuru Park as planned?
I was not at Uhuru Park. And I've expressed myself on this, and I'll repeat it again, that we as NASA fraternity, the co-principals, at the co-principal level, we discussed severally the issue about a parallel oath, the merits and the demerits of it. And my position then, and which is still my position, is that you cannot have a former prime minister, have two former vice presidents, have two former ministers of foreign affairs, have a former minister for finance and deputy prime minister engaging in a process that is unconstitutional. This is a point we argued. All through we made this point. Now listen to me. So what happened there? We said that we should not be caught in a situation as NASA where we are telling Kenyans that we stand for constitutionalism, we stand for the rule of law, and then we do something that is contrary to that.
Okay.
And to me, I believe that is the most important message that Kenyans should take. And that matter should be allowed to rest.
It has rested, actually. But the question is that why you did not go to Uhuru Park?
Yes.
Is that the reason why?
Yes.
Because your lieutenants keep saying that Raila Odinga told you he'll call you, and then he didn't show up, he didn't call you, and then he left you.
I think take my position that it's a matter of principle, it was unconstitutional, and we looked at it critically, and it could have had other consequences.
Right, on the 27th of January, that was 3 days to the 30th of January. This is what you said at Homa Bay, if we have that clip. Okay, they're going to look for that clip. Yeah, right, we have it now. We have it, yes.
Break tulikuwa tunaweka tukisema we hope reason will prevail. Hiyo break nimekanyanga. Raila amekanyanga. Kalonzo ameweka mguu. Weta ameweka mguu. Uzito wa wananchi ni mwingi. Mguu imechoka, tumewachilia. Tarehe 30 Raila Amolo Odinga anase Biblia.
That is totally, different from what you're saying right now. This is actually just 3 days to the 30th of January mock swearing in. So what was unconstitutional then and unconstitutional when you didn't show up?
I think the position was very clear. The situation behind there was that that thing was not going to take place. All right?
Behind?
Yes.
Behind where? In Homa Bay?
Oh, yes. After that Homa Bay thing, that swearing-in was not supposed to take place. Now, be that as it may, you listen to that clip, it also shows that there was a lot of caution, that we kept on insisting that this is not to make a break. That is a statement that needs to be taken very seriously. What was that break? That break was the reasoning behind the scenes, not to fall to the whims and the emotions that were being solicited out there. That was the message I was putting across.
But you said Raila Odinga, it's time Raila Odinga. I mean, this is in the past. But I mean, what you are contradicting yourself. You said very well that day, Raila Odinga and Nasa Bibilia. It's the final or last public event we saw you at.
We had other meetings, my friend.
Public.
Even after that, we had other meetings.
Right, publicly. Yeah. That is the last time we saw you. And you said very well, umekuwa ukiweka break for a long time. Meaning, as you said, you didn't want this to happen.
Correct.
But now you said uzito wa wananchi and that reason is not prevailing. Umetoa foot kwa break. Na Raila Nasa Bibilia. You're clearly saying Raila should go on and be sworn in.
Now, the message that I want us to look at is this. What is the final outcome of that process?
But you said, you were supposed to go for the process.
I made that statement then, okay?
So you agree then you were for the process?
No, not for swearing in.
But you just said it.
No, take it from me.
Okay, let me say it in another way.
Yes.
Are you now saying you regret making those comments? Or you withdraw those comments altogether?
That is
it's in the past.
It's
something, it shows your principles, Honorable Mudavadi, what you stand for or what you not stand for. Because you said then, this should go on. You later, after this, and you said you repeatedly talked about this, you've always been saying that you were never for this, and it was always unconstitutional, and you never wanted the swearing in to happen. Yet you were publicly saying it should happen.
That is why I was exerting the brakes.
Okay.
That is why I was exerting the brakes. And Hussein,
yes.
You know, in terms of the communication around this thing, it's a very delicate issue. And some of us spent a lot of time because what I said then in terms of what we really believe and what we stand for today was that could have been dangerous for the country. Hence, I kept on emphasizing tunaweka break.
Okay, but then ukasema tutatoa break na iendelee. Okay, I mean you have your way of interpreting this, but that is what we saw.
Okay.
We'll leave that at that. Many labeled you a coward after that, of course, and you know that. And you've always been saying, and you talked about your qualities that you reflect before you decide to talk or make any decisions. Do you feel betrayed then by Odinga after the handshake?
No, I've said no. He made his decision. He met Kenyatta.
Yes.
He did not inform us. We've had interactions over time on the issue. And as far as I'm concerned, we want to send a message clearly that at no time does Musalia Mudavadi stand against a peace process. Okay? Or a gesture that would lead to peace. Now, let me give you the example of Moshe Dayan, the veteran Israeli defense minister during the Arab-Israeli war. He actually said that if you want to make peace, you don't talk to your friends. You talk to your enemies. Okay? So philosophically, if we put it in the context of Kenya, the issue of the handshake has then achieved some measure of tranquility. But what has been my call? My call has not been, don't shake hands.
What are you shaking hands on?
My call has been, what are you shaking hands on?
Okay.
How is it structured? Is it a process that involves just two people? Or is it going to be a holistic and all-inclusive process?
What do you think it is? Because both Kenyatta and Odinga are billing it as the antidote to Kenya's problems, talking about the Building Bridges initiative. Is that
Right.
Is that what you think? Because you talked about this before, and you're not happy that it did not reflect a lot of issues that were in the NASA manifesto. So do you think, as they do, that this?
I think at the moment it's still vague. Okay, it's still not very clear. And the other day I was reading one of the media sections, and they were saying that the task force that was gazetted has still not quite taken off because the resources to allow them to do certain things have not been forthcoming. Now you see, these are the issues that in a structured process, and we all have to go back to the Bomas process as an example. It was properly financed, properly budgeted for. The resources, one could see, were being allocated through Parliament to facilitate this process. Now, this task force, as much as its intentions may be noble, I think the element of inclusivity and broadening the space is still lacking.
Okay. What is the status of NASA then? You've said NASA is still very intact. It was your brainchild, and of course it was the vessel that was used by the opposition. One of your colleagues has called it moribund. He was here, Amos Wetangula. Another one has begun the One Kenya movement, that is Kalonzo Musyoka. You're lately pursuing Luhya unity and other issues and talking about your ambitions, presidential ambitions, said them again. Odinga, who told Newsnight NASA is still strong as well, is busy with the Building Bridges initiatives, and his lieutenants say he's still in the race. Does that show you this? Is it indicative of
I cannot
unified outfit? Yeah.
I cannot speak for all of them.
Yet you used to speak.
But let me
each of them.
Okay, on some issues, yes. On this one, let me just speak my point.
Okay.
One, the clarity that needs to be made is that for NASA to break, then you must have 3 founding parties exiting formally, writing to the register of political parties, and also notifying the sister parties within the coalition that they wish to leave NASA. Up to this point in time, no single party has done that.
Legally, that is the reality.
Yes.
Politically, what is the reality? What are we seeing?
Now, politically, we are seeing a NASA that is shaken, okay, no doubt about it, and I've used the word rattled, a NASA that is rattled. But I stand and I sit here to say that in order for Kenya to be much stronger, we are all beholden to work towards healing the shifts or rifts that are within the NASA, so that we can get it back as a vessel, as a coalition agreement body, a coalition body that the millions of supporters will again have faith in.
What, in your opinion, then is a source of the rift in NASA?
I think right now there was a question of breach of trust amongst NASA principals, and
breach
also
of trust.
Yes, and also NASA supporters.
Okay, among NASA principals, he's talking about breach of trust. Do you believe that there was a breach of trust, and breach by who? Odinga?
I think on this one, let me put it this way: that certain actions and certain things that we were supposed to do, we were consulting very effectively as we built up towards NASA.
Yes.
Somewhere along the line, the level of consultation was diminished. These are issues that we need to deal with.
Coming from who? All of you? All the principals? Or is it about Odinga and the handshake?
No, I don't want to be passing blame at an individual and all that. Look, we have to be above that. I think we are talking about the coalition, the structures that form the coalition, our management streams. There are various structures. Okay. And I must admit here that those ones were not consulting as they should have consulted.
You're not saying it is from who, so we should assume all of you share the blame, right?
That would be a fair thing, because at this point in time, let us not be passing the buck all the time. Let us say that as NASA principals, we owe it to our supporters
this is a question
to pull together.
Right, this is a question going to us that has been asked before, and Mutuma in Machakos is also asking it. Many people have been talking about it, especially after we talked to Honorable Odinga a few weeks ago. Does the NASA MOU still hold then? Because you're saying the NASA outfit is still very much intact and you're working to get it to where it was. Should the NASA MOU still hold? And as far as elections are concerned and who should vie?
I think if we want to be honest and true to our commitment, I think what we appended our signatures to in the NASA document should hold. That would be the beginning of...
But ODM will not produce a presidential candidate.
That would be yes, that was part of it.
Yes.
That would be the beginning of ensuring that we are healing the process and moving forward.
Okay. Status of the opposition in the country, you've talked about it, and we've seen you try to play that role. Again, we don't see it coming out as NASA. Initially, earlier in the year, and media we used to see, at some point we actually saw 3 principals appending signatures to statements. You, Kalonzo and Wetangula, without Raila Odinga. I don't know what that meant. As you look at the state of the opposition in the country and what exactly that meant, finally, what next for you? What is your game plan as Musalia Mudavadi?
Of course, when you look at the opposition, I think we need to close ranks quickly. I think we must debunk this fallacy that by virtue of Raila Odinga shaking hands with Uhuru, then people have crossed the floor. Let us get this out of the people's minds. NASA officially remains the opposition in Parliament. So when our legislators talk, as much as they may wish to support 1 or 2 issues that the government is doing right, they must not run away from or abscond their role as the opposition. This is one thing that must come out clearly. And I would like to really urge the legislators doing that.
There's a lapse in that?
There's a lapse. There's a lapse. I mean...
the whole NASA team, right? All the parties in NASA.
When we look at the debate that was there on the sugar and the way they've handled this sugar issue, you can see there are legislators who are conflicted. Yeah.
Yet you were a NASA principal.
Yes,
but for all these things, you never took any action or tried to whip your members.
But I'm not in Parliament.
But you can manage your MPs outside Parliament.
You can talk to them outside Parliament.
Did you?
Of course I did. Of course I did.
As NASA MPs, you talked to the NASA MPs?
Yes, I talked to several. I called them and I even urged them that the way out of this thing is to create a judicial commission of inquiry. Way before these committees bungled themselves up. You covered me when I issued that statement. So we have been sending these messages that we need a strong and constructive opposition. And there must be constructive engagement if you're going to engage with Jubilee.
Okay.
But it should not be absconding.
Okay. We're going to take a look at the final tweets here, but you're supposed to just tell me very briefly, what next for you then? What are we going to see in as far as Mudavadi is concerned? Of course, you talked about now, you're the first one who's talking about trying to bring NASA together. Is that one of the things you're going to concentrate on in future? And what else for you?
I think, and also to consolidate ANC, because a coalition is also as strong as its parties. So right now, I'm engaged with ANC members, working hard to make sure that the party becomes stronger. All right? And in the process, we are leaving our lines open, our doors open, so that we can negotiate and make sure that NASA is not a lost dream. My friend, if we reach a stage where we kill the opposition in this country, it will be a big disgrace to us and to the future generations. A strong democracy requires a strong opposition.
Okay. I'll take a look at a few tweets now. Again, the hashtag is Newsnight on Twitter, and you can keep tweeting what you're saying. This is Mugendi, who says, Mudavadi, I would love to support you, but you are seemingly too gullible. I don't know how you respond to that. I'll give you a chance to respond to that. Awas Charles, Mudavadi has put Kenyans' interests first in more than one occasion and should bring more people on board, especially those from central Kenya and Rift Valley. He should start another bigger coalition or bring the majority of Kenyans together. You've just alluded to that. Godri Barazawere, the NASA formation is slowly disintegrating into oblivion after Raila's crossover to Uhuru's fold and an impending exit of Wetangula to Ruto's corner. It will be a tall order for Mudavadi to steer an outfit whose strong members have vacated. We have Zephania Obaga. I wish Mudavadi could accept NASA is dead and look for another coalition which can help spear his political ambitions in 2022 before it's too late. It has been his habit to wait until it's too late, and this is one of his greatest blunders. He can make a good leader. If you can respond to that on the issue of you being gullible. Again, Honorable Kabando says Ruto should focus on delivering mandate in Manifesto 2017-2022. Uhuru Raila will restructure country long term. Musalia Mudavadi spars modesty, sobriety, moderation. I think, Umi thinks, that's what he says, he'd reconnect with Uhuru Raila to accelerate war on impunity. Wycliffe Musalia Mudavadi owes us that, and we owe him respect. Future shall unfold itself. Whoever fights impunity more will get a trophy 2022.
Well, some of it is criticism.
About you being gullible.
And some of it is advice. So whether it is criticism or advice, if it is the criticism, I'll take it in my stride.
Right.
And hopefully in due course, the man will realize, or whoever it is will realize, I'm not gullible. He might look at it differently. In terms of me just emphasizing, I still maintain that we must create a strong opposition.
Okay.
All right? And we must also debunk this notion that a strong opposition must be perceived in the context of picketing, in the context of violence, because this, unfortunately, seems to be what Kenyans have grown to understand as opposition. But opposition in a changing world, in a world that we can see that persuasion becomes more important.
Okay.
It is important that we start persuading each other through ideas. Okay?
Meaning you'd want to move away from what we've been seeing NASA doing when you were there in NASA?
Yes. Let
regret some of those things.
The violence is always regrettable.
Okay. Finally, I just have to ask this. This is Lloyd Mutua. We have to give them a voice. These are Kenyans. Lloyd Mutua on Twitter says, the word on the street is that Musalia Mudavadi was offered for a position of cabinet secretary alongside Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka and refused the offer. Is it true?
No,
I'll give him that. He's a viewer and he's saying it's word on the street. But it's a disclaimer because he said it's the word on the street.
Yeah,
just respond to him.
Thank you. It's a rumor.
There's nothing like that.
Let it just be forgotten. There was nothing like that.
All right. Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, thank you so much for making time for us tonight.
But maybe let me throw in one.
Yes.
Let me just throw in the final one. I think the pitch against corruption so far being brought out by Uhuru is important. It should be encouraged. Okay? And I want to beseech him again that for the sake of the 5 million cane farmers and their families and the future of that territory, he should think seriously about a commission of inquiry to work parallel with other arms of agencies that are going on with the investigations. And they must know, and I'm sure he feels it, that when coffee was being baggered up, the impact on coffee farmers was devastating. When the maize farmers are unable to get their pay, and even now they're actually selling their produce. The famous Mogorogoro, it has dropped to almost 30 shillings out there. We have the pyrethrum farmers. All these farmers have suffered the injustice of what they have invested in, and their families haven't been invested in, just disappearing. We should not allow that to continue. And therefore, I am appealing once again to the President of this country. The Constitution grants you the authority, singular authority, to create a commission of inquiry. Nobody else has that authority.
You are saying that as the only option?
He has to work on it, think about it. He creates it. It is going to be good for this country.
All right.
Yeah, we must fight corruption. We must help our people.
Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, thank you so much for making time for us on Newsnight, and we wish you the best going forward. Keep texting us 22422. This is our SMS number. On Twitter, use the hashtag Newsnight. You're back after this.